Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, a Fragment, by Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Coleridge was born 1772 to 1834. He was a British poet. He suffered from depression and also took opium for bone pain. He became addicted to opium. One night he was reading about Kubla Khan, the great Mongolian emperor. He took opium and he went to sleep. The opium caused him to have an amazing dream. When he woke up, he immediately started writing this poem based on his memories of his dream. A visitor interrupted his writing and he couldn't remember the end of the dream, so he didn't publish it for many years. It is now regarded as one of the greatest poems in English literature. He died of heart failure at the age of 61 as a result of his opium addiction. The Romantic period in poetry was roughly from 1800 to 1850. Coleridge and Wordsworth started the Romantic movement in poetry. The Romantic poets got their inspiration from nature. They used very strong emotions in their poems and followed strict rhyme and rhythm. They also added supernatural elements to their poems, and they used their imagination a lot. Do you remember your dreams? Do you ever write them down? It's about Kubla Khan, who ruled the Mongolian Empire. He was the emperor of the Mongolian Empire between 1260 and 1264. He was responsible for the reunification of China. He built a magnificent summer palace at Xanadu in China. Coleridge had been reading about this place and the beautiful gardens before he slept. Kubla Khan, or A Vision in a Dream, a fragment. A vision in a dream, he wrote about what he saw in a dream. A fragment, a poem left unfinished or never completed by the poet. He could not complete the poem because someone interrupted him in the middle of writing it down, and he couldn't remember what happened in the end. In Xanadu did Kubla Khan a stately pleasure dome decree. Stately, huge, pleasure dome, summer palace, decree, he ordered someone to do it. Where Alf, the sacred river, ran, the fictional river Alf flowed near the dome. Through caverns measureless to man, the rivers flowed through deep caves that were endless. Down to a sunless sea, alliteration. The river flows into a huge underground lake where the sun does not shine. So twice 5 miles of fertile ground, there were 10 square miles of very good land. With walls and towers were girded round. The real Kubla Khan did build a huge palace and secured it with walls and towers, girded in a circle. And there were gardens bright with sinuous rills, sinuous twisting and turning, rills, small streams and rivers, where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree. Many trees grew with a beautiful smell of incense. And here were forests ancient as the hills, ancient forests, very old, enfolding sunny spots of greenery, surrounding sunny spots of greenery. Stanza 2. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted, a chasm, a gorge, a deep hole in the earth. Down the green hill, athwart a cedarn cover, athwart on each side, cedarn made from cedar trees. A savage place, as holy and enchanted. All the exclamation marks show us the poet's shock or excitement as he describes this strange place. A savage place, a cruel, violent place, enchanted, touched by magic. as ere beneath a waning moon was haunted, as ever under a crescent moon, a place with ghosts it was haunted. By a woman wailing for her demon lover, he saw a woman crying in grief for her demon, evil-spirited monster lover. And from this chasm with ceaseless turmoil seeding, the chasm, the deep hole in the earth, ceaseless, never stopping turmoil, trouble, seeding, it was filled with never-ending trouble. As if this earth in fast, thick pants were breathing, to pant, to breathe quickly after activity. The river comes out of the earth with great force, as if the earth burped it out. A mighty fountain momently was forced. Amid whose swift half-intermitted burst, amid between its swift, fast, intermitted, it stopped and started, burst, it suddenly breaks out, the water from underneath the earth. Huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, fragments, pieces of earth, vaulted, jumped over, rebounding, bounced back after hitting something, looked like hail, like frozen rain. Or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. The chaff, the husks of corn or other seeds separated. The thresher, a person who uses a flail. A flail used to beat crops, such as corn, in order to separate the grain from the rest of the plant. And mid these dancing rocks at once and ever, in the middle of these dancing rocks at once and ever, suddenly, it flung up momently the sacred river, flung, it threw forcefully, momently, suddenly, the sacred river Alf came bursting through the rocks. 5 miles meandering with a mazy motion, meandering in a zigzag style, mazy like a maze. Through wood and dale the sacred river ran, through forests and valleys, the river which burst through, flowed through forests and valleys. Then reached the caverns, measureless to man. The river finally reached those caves which can't be measured, they were so deep. And sank in tumult to a lifeless ocean. It sank, it went underneath in a loud noise to the lifeless ocean where the sun doesn't shine, deep beneath the caves. And mid this tumult, Kubla heard from far, in the middle of all this noise, Kubla Khan heard a sound from far away. Ancestral voices prophesizing war. His ancestors, his dead relatives were prophesying, predicting that war was imminent. The shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure, the mixed sounds. Kubla Khan could hear the mixed sounds from the fountain and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a miracle, something that happens that can't be explained by science and is said to be from God. This was a rare device. It was never seen before. A sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice. Stanza 3. A damsel with a dulcimer, a damsel, a young girl, with a dulcimer, a traditional instrument. It was an Abyssinian maid, Abyssinia, the old name for Ethiopia, a maid, a young girl. And on her dulcimer musical instrument she played, singing of Mount Abora, Mount Abora, Mount Amara in Ethiopia. Could I revive within me? He wishes he could hear her singing that lovely song again. Her symphonies and songs, he wishes he he could remember her lovely songs. Stanza 4. To such a deep delight 'twould win me, it would make me so happy, that with music loud and long I would build that dome in all. If he could hear that music, that singing of that Abyssinian girl just once more, he could be able to see in his mind the dome in Xanadu once again. That sunny dome, he wishes he could see that sunny dome. He wishes he could relive those caves of ice which he saw in his dream. And all who heard should see them there. If he could only see them again in his mind, the poet would describe the dome so well that everyone who listened to him could imagine that they saw them too. And all should cry, "Beware, beware!" The listeners are afraid of the poet because his words would put vivid images into their imagination, and he would take them into this mysterious world. Maybe they would feel he was using magic to make them see the imaginary world of the dome and Xanadu. His flashing eyes, his floating hair. His poet's eyes would be flashing and his hair would be floating as he is in the creative energy telling them about Kubla Khan. Maybe his audience would think he is putting a magic spell on his listeners. Weave a circle around him thrice. The poet's words would put some vivid pictures in the listeners' minds that they would think he is doing magic to them. So, to protect themselves, they would make a circle around him 3 times. And close your eyes with holy dread. The listeners would close their eyes out of fear that this poem was having such an immense effect on their imagination. For he on honey dew has fed. The poet was able to connect to a mystical power called inspiration. Honeydew was an old word for opium. People would say, who listened to him, he has taken opium to get into this altered state. He has drunk the milk of paradise. People would say he has taken opium and he is high, and that is why he is connecting to this higher energy and putting these images of Kubla Khan in our minds.